Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the School District of the City of Dearborn regular meeting, Monday, September 11th, 2023. It is 7:06, and I call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call.
Trustee Barry?
Here.
Trustee D'Ambrosio?
Here.
Trustee McDonald?
Here.
Trustee Moses?
Here.
Trustee Petrikoff?
Here.
Trustee Watts here. President Thorpe.
Here. Next item.
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Ms. Mervat Zaba, Howard Elementary Principal, will introduce students who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, Dr. Maleko, President Thorpe, and trustees. I have three amazing Howard Dragons, and they are going to introduce themselves.
Aya Nasser, 5th grade.
Jawdat Talib, 4th grade.
Ike Sanderson Price, 4th grade.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done.
Shadat, thank you very much. Aya, thank you. And Ike, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Superintendent's update. Moment of silence.
Yeah, so we'll just start with, unfortunately, we did have a student a few weeks ago that passed away from Etzel Ford. I reached out to the family. I know Mr. Saley and others to provide support and spoke to his father. So if we can have a moment of silence for Ahmed Al-Hawadi, please, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Whenever we have families in need and we go through tragedy, we stick together and support one another. So I appreciate our staff and community working with the family. Just going down the agenda, if that's okay, Mr. President. So I'll start with, on the agenda, I have retirements. I have Lynn Majlik Kanokpa, over 24 years of service, and I have Johnny Terry with 32 years of service. Again, thank you to them for their years of service, and we congratulate them on their retirements. And I'll go down on non-agenda items. I did put out a statement on my blog and social media, and I'll get a statement to address right here. Today, people from across the country, state, right here in Dearborn, commemorate the heroes of September 11th and honor those who lost their lives on that tragic day. All of us in Dearborn Public Schools join in paying tribute to the brave first responders and citizens who stepped up and took action to aid their fellow Americans on September 11th, 2001. We also remember and offer our most sincere condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones on that sad and dark day. Just days after September 11th, former Dearborn Superintendent Dr. Jeremy Hughes delivered a message to staff and citizens of Dearborn. Let me read just a few short sentences from that message. The American spirit is resilient. It rallies in the time of crisis and comforts in the time of need. It is a spirit that is proud, a spirit that is free. The American spirit is here in Dearborn. It is in the hearts of all its residents. More than 20 years later, these words still ring true in the days that followed September 11th. Our country was united and came together to help those who lost loved ones. Elected officials from both parties stood together on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, united in spirit. Thousands of people poured into New York City to help in the recovery effort at the site of the World Trade Center. Just as important as remembering the events of September 11th, we must never forget the incredible resilience and spirit of the American people in the days that followed. A spirit that worked to build up our fellow citizens, not tear them down. If ever there was a time when we needed to call upon the strength of American spirit to come together, it is now. Over the course of the last several years, we have forgotten how to disagree without dividing, share a difference of opinion without stereotyping, and unfortunately engage in hurtful dialogue without considering the greater impact of our words. Far too many people have forgotten that simple lesson: be kind. Perhaps it's a side effect of the pandemic, the reflection of our political environment, or the dramatic increase in the use of social media. but for some reason, it just appears that now, more than ever, people have forgotten how to be kind. However, it doesn't need to be this way. And if you spend time in a school with students, you will know this is true. Our students are full of hope, full of optimism, full of dreams for a brighter and better future. That attitude is contagious. Let's embrace the ability to push the reset button on civility and show everyone what we already know. Change is possible, and kindness is abundant. Our students need our leadership as educators, parents, and role models to nurture a spark of kindness and turn it into a fire of goodwill for all. As the years after September 11th faded behind us, we may be forgetting how strong this nation was in those days after the tragedy, and how strong this nation can be and is. The history of this great nation has shown the world how we, as Americans, can overcome adversity and stand united in the common goal of democracy and freedom for all. Time has a way of easing our sadness, fading our anger, but never let the passage of time break our spirit. It's our spirit, that unique American spirit, that can see the good in each other, the commonality we all share, and come together to bring about the better days we know lie ahead. Thank you. And I will move on to the next report. I just have a report. I completed all my school visits, so all buildings, last Friday. And I take the 2 weeks. I basically block pretty much every day other than maybe the one day, Tuesdays, where we have a lot of meetings. And things look very good, I gotta say, in the 9 years as superintendent. And this is based on what I'm hearing on the ground from staff and parents and students, for that matter. It's nice when you are in the buildings, you spend a lot of time and you hear the one-on-one conversations. That's where I think you get the true opinion of where people are at. And people were just bringing up that it's been a pretty smooth, not to say that we didn't have any issues at all. We know we had power outages and things that we had to deal with, and the operations department did a great job. But everyone really came together. We were so excited. We had contracts settled, staff were very positive, and people were bringing it up to me. This was a very positive start to the year. They felt very good. It was very smooth. Some of them, and I didn't bring this up, but a lot of them were contributing the new open house that started prior, that students felt more comfortable. We may need to tweak that, the times, but this is the first year we've done that, so that was a constant theme I heard. But I do want to thank our entire staff. I want to thank our parents. I want to thank the board. I want to thank the school community, and of course our students for a great opening from my observations going to all buildings over the last 2 weeks. And so we will play a little video. I believe it's from the opening day. Thank you, David and team, Eric, Jacob. So we're up for the strategic plan renewal, and I know that will be coming before the board soon. That vision sign that we take goes everywhere. I think my first stop was a kindergarten class, and last Friday it was the student section at the football game, and some trustees were actually in some of those pictures from Friday night at the DHS game. So, you know, a lot of positive out there, and we'll continue to move forward in that manner. So thank you. I have one other, I just want to mention a statement here. Everyone knows I am a frequent user of social media to promote our district. When used correctly, it can be a very useful tool to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of students and staff. Unfortunately, there are some who use various social platforms to incite fear, mistrust, and spread rumors. They post misinformation to possibly promote a personal agenda that seeks to damage the district, students, staff, and sometimes community members. Few people may have seen a post over the weekend that I confirm was totally inaccurate and not factually based. This irresponsible post was targeting a Dearborn Schools employee. We plan to support that employee and all employees and students that are targeted with this sort of inaccurate information. We'll explore all options to remedy this irresponsible post. There is no evidence, nor has any information been provided to support, to support these claims. Whenever any type of concern is brought to our attention, we have a solid process to determine the accuracy of those claims. I want to assure you as a superintendent of schools that student safety is and will always be a top priority. We will always act in the best interest to protect our students, staff, and the school community. If anyone has an allegation or claim against a staff member or student, they are encouraged to immediately report the claim and provide information and evidence to a supervisor, compliance officer, or to me as superintendent. All claims are thoroughly investigated and oftentimes in coordination with district legal counsel. If necessary, when investigating a claim, we do not hesitate to put an employee on administrative leave to protect students, employees, and due process rights in alignment with state, federal law, board policy, and protocols. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Maleko on anything from the superintendent's update? Trustee Watts?
I just had a comment. Going back to the open house, for those grades that are transitioning, I think especially into middle school, it was great to be able to have that open house beforehand. Personally, my daughter had a lot of questions about the locker room and the sequencing of the day and the AB day, and what if you don't get that lock open? And so being able to do that beforehand really remedied so much anxiety and so much worry. So I applaud all of the staff for having that sort of foresight to be able to really make the students comfortable, especially, like I said, in the middle school where you're going from an elementary school, one classroom to multiple. So that was something that I really enjoyed seeing, and I think it really helped her and her friends to kind of navigate what that would look like for first day.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Next item, recognition and acknowledgments. Acknowledgments of donations.
Hello. A donation of 100 backpacks has been offered to Dearborn Public Schools by UAW Local 245 to be distributed to students in need. A donation of $857 has been offered to Salina Elementary School by Salina Alumni Reunion to be used towards Salina's Green School project. That's all.
Next item, please.
Accreditation, Cognail.
Real quick, back to the donation of the Salina Alumni Reunion. I just want to give credit to Mr. William Ali. He started that event, raised a good amount of money. And I had a special treat that evening. I got to see my 4th grade teacher and my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Borg and Mrs. Markowski from Salina.
And
Thank you,
Trustee
William.
Barry, do you have an idea? It was mentioned donations of backpacks. Do you have an idea what the PTA Council?
I believe I heard the number about, there was about 200 backpacks that were passed out.
Great.
And probably like, I don't know, 500 people showed up at that.
500?
I know Dr. Maleko was there, you were
Great.
there, took over as a grill master, so thank you for doing that, so.
No
I saw the
problem.
smoke coming up when President was there. I don't know
Yeah,
what
well.
happened there.
Next item.
Accreditation, Cognia.
Good evening, everyone. We do have a couple slides. If they're not there, it's okay. It's going to be very short. I wanted to congratulate each of our schools and our district on being re-accredited. We were due for the engagement review in spring or winter of 2023, and we were awarded the accreditation. This is through Cognia, an institution that accredits schools and universities across the nation and international. What they do is they look at our practices throughout the institution in terms of leadership for learning, engagement of learning, growth in learning, and also culture of learning. They have 30 different standards that they look at, and they examine our practices against these standards, and they give us a score on each. They leave with recommendations, and, oops, sorry, wrong presentation. It's okay. They leave with recommendations and noteworthy practices. Noteworthy practicing meaning that we perform well above the expected, and recommendations for improvement are specific standards that we can do better at, looking at them, synthesizing the information that we collect. It's like a comprehensive needs assessment that we pulled and used as we were developing our strategic plan. So it's another tool that we can look at to improve and implement continuous improvement. So congratulations to us again, and to the board. Thank you. Any
Thank you very much. Trustee Petlicoff?
Just real quick, though, and the findings, areas of excellence and areas for improvement. Do we have a breakdown of what that report actually said that can be shared at some point?
Yes, we do, and it is on the presentation that was shared for tonight. The summary of it is, but I do have specific details that we used for the strategic plan in the community advisory meeting a couple months before we left for the summer. And I also put it in board briefs. I will add it to board briefs again this week.
Okay, but is there a way that it's been shared publicly?
For sure, yes.
Okay.
We can also add it on the district website.
That's what I'm asking, yes.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for how long is this accreditation for?
This is for 6 years. So it used to be 5 years. With a new protocol, they are implementing every 6 years. And we do a check-in the 3rd year into the accreditation with Cognia.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Approval of minutes of the following Dearborn Board of Education meeting, regular P12 meeting, August 21st, 2023, Board Report 23-31, recommended action, make any necessary corrections, and move approval of these minutes.
So move. Support.
We have a motion by Trustee D'Ambrosio, supported by Trustee Barry. Any corrections that are needed in the minutes? Hearing none, may I attach unanimous roll? Please do so. Next item.
Special reports, millage renewal, Mr. Thomas Wall, Mr. David Mustonen.
Good evening, President Thorpe, members of the board, and Dr. Maleko, and Ms. Harris. We have our operational millages are expiring at the end of this current school year, so after the 23-24 school year. As required by law, we are required to actually go back out to the voters and have it approved to go forward. So here is a short pictorial of how our millage history has been over the years. You can see currently in the 2023, it's the lowest it's ever been. That is because of our debt millage has gone down, and due to state law changes, the actual hold harmless millage, which is a portion or a subpart of the operational millage, has also gone down. So you can see right now we're at 21.39 mils, and we have been as high as 29.98 in previous years. So that has gone down considerably. Obviously, there's a cost to that, because if our debt mills right now is only at 1.35. Just make sure I say the number right. And obviously, we do have infrastructures, and that's the conversation we've been having over the last couple of years. And until a direction is given and the public approves something, or we do something internally, that problem will still exist. So again, with our millage expiring at the end of this June 30th, if we don't approve it, we are looking at roughly about 17% of our operational budget will not be fulfilled. That's roughly about $41 million. So $41 million is a lot. And this is all based on the state formula to get our foundation per pupil. We have to levy that to get the full amount. The state, when they considers that foundation amount per pupil, they subtract out the local taxes, which is our 18 mills, and our hold harmless, which is at 2.02 this year. Those are expected to get fulfilled and actually approved by the voters. Otherwise, the state does not make up that difference. So the voter, if that vote is not approved by the voters, then that money is lost to us until the following year, or if we go out for another renewal election by the voters. So again, just going over quickly, the 18 mills is our current operational millage that roughly rates $34 million. The 2.04 mills is the homestead, which is our hold harmless millage. The 18 mills, the large of that is on non-home owners. That's usually your commercial, your rental homes, things that are not their primary household. But that 4.5 mil to 2.04 is against all property in our district. And I just shortly outshone the existing bonded debt. And as those expired, right now we're at 1.35. So I won't go through all the details. So this just shows you our debt millage over time. You see we're at 1.35, and you'll see that it's slowly going down. So over the next, years through 2028, that millage will slowly continue to go down from 1.35 where it is right now. So again, it's upcoming election dates. I have a list there. It's a little outdated because they haven't put in some of the new dates, but our next opportunity where we don't actually have a primary just for us. If we have an election date in conjunction with somebody else, we don't pay the money. And that's estimated between $160,000 and $180,000 to run an election if you have to pay for it. So the next one that actually is already scheduled is February 27th, 2024. So that is my recommendation to do that at that election so we don't have to pay for it. We get it done. If the voters approve it, we don't have to worry about it for the next budget cycle. Otherwise, we'll be looking in the next budget cycle to figure out how to lose $41 million in our operational budget.
Trustee McDonald?
Mr. Wall, you talk about, and maybe that's what David's coming up here for, but when you talked about the percentages and the dollar amounts, can you just, for the folks that are listening, how do those dollars equate to what would be lost in our schools, like teachers in the classroom? Just kind of bring it on home so we know exactly what that money is used for or could be used for, where the loss could be.
So $41 million is a lot of money. Our full sports program is about $3.4 million. So that would be getting rid of all the sports. If you actually wanted to have that as one of the cost savings. I don't think we'd ever go to that level of drasticity, but it's something you consider. In addition, transportation. Transportation is anywhere between $7 and $8 million. So we offer no transportation in the district. You can see just the total of those two are a little over 10 million, and we're only 1/4 of the way there. So really, with our majority of our staff is all personnel costs, you're looking at large reductions in staffing costs to kind of bring that budget back in line. So it doesn't necessarily mean the teacher in the classroom, but it might be less teachers in a building, so class sizes could go up. A lot of the support staff that we have, we made large scale, ground on our mental health and all the, the social workers, the nurses we've added over the time, because we've done a lot of that mental health changes, which is, as you know, and you hear a lot of the stories out there, that is something that's been very challenging for a lot of school districts. We've been very blessed under Mike's, supervision to actually increase those services that we have to our students.
And it would be hard to choose what of those
Yes.
things that we would have to.
And
cut,
that's why
but
we're
the
actually-
choice would have to be made.
That's why we're recommending to do it in February, our first choice, where we don't have to pay for the election costs. So if it passes, we know what our budget cycle is going forward. And if it doesn't passes, the opposite side of what we have.
Then we
to
got
look
to
at.
start looking at those
Correct.
things and others.
And I believe the next time opportunity would be probably May, but we might have to pay for that one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Trustee Petlicoff?
A couple things. One, I just want to reiterate, those were all hypotheticals of what,
It
and
was
not
just an
something.
example of the size of the
Just
budget.
examples
change.
for those listening. The other thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we were to go out for the renewal, people would see 2 ballot proposals,
Correct.
not one, because sometimes that can get confusing as to why it would look like we were asking for it twice. And one is for, it's all the hold harmless, but one is for the 18 mills of the non-homestead versus those that property owners, homeowners would be voting on. So you would be voting on 2 separate, but they would incorporate the sum total of the 41 million approximately
Correct.
that we would be losing, just more weighted on the 18 mil non-homestead end. So I just want to make sure people understand that if they were to see this on the ballot, that it's all the same pile of money, but it's separated for the vote by state law.
It's required by state law, yes.
Trustee Barry?
I know you recommended February 6th as maybe going out for the,
27th.
I'm sorry?
27th. There was originally the 6th, but when the state finally got through it all, they just chose the 27th date for
Oh, okay.
primary.
Is there a primary?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
Do we have any idea, the last time we had a primary in Michigan, the numbers that came out, the percentages of the registered voters?
Yeah, we can look at that. We have all that data. I don't have it here, but yes, we have that data.
The thing I want to bring out is if it's just going to be mostly like maybe 60% of the voters are going to be absentee voters, we need to be careful, that's all. And I guess a follow-up question, if for some reason it does not pass the first time, are we able to get it in time for the November election?
No, unfortunately not. With majority of our summer levy includes all of the Dearborn,
Yeah.
area, and Dearborn Heights does 50-50, so we do a portion in the summer and the other portion in the winter. So if you did the November, you would miss all of the summer levy.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Pelish?
Just to clarify Trustee Barry's question about the primary, this Democratic primary, the past primaries were both for Republican and Democratic presidential nominations. So whatever numbers they come up with, because the Republicans have not chosen to sign on to the February primary time, so the numbers are going to look different as to who may participate in that February primary. Now, it's a completely different and brand new question.
Yeah, I mean, 2 reasons I'm bringing that up. Well, the main reason is messaging, so to know who we're going to have to target.
They're not 100%. They're not 100% on the February 27th date because there's some timing issues as far as when it went into place, if it would meet some deadlines on the state level. So as far as we know, it's February 27th. But we've also been told that, it could still be the March date, which is the typical primary date. Keep in mind, too, that this year, also a lot of other new voting rules go into place. So, for example, voting actually starts 9 days before, not at every precinct, but at select sites throughout the city. There'll be open voting 8 a.m. till 8 p.m., for 9 days prior to the actual election day. So you're absolutely right. Messaging and timing of that messaging is critical.
Thank you.
Trustee Pelish?
When do you need a decision? Because I know there's a time frame of when we have to submit this to be put on a ballot.
45 days. I believe it's 45 days prior to election date, but obviously if the board makes the resolution sooner, we can start the communication on just
Get the
messaging that let them know what it is. Obviously, we can't advocate yes or no, but we can at least get the information out there. Again, as David said, so much voting is happening earlier than normal because of the new systems that are in place.
Dr. Maligo?
Just a couple of things too. So we were looking to focus on this. We discussed it at the last meeting prior to any going out for any of the public forums on the 30-year study, even though we're moving forward with the bid on that. We talked about not wanting to confuse taking care of this before we move is what we tentatively said. I know the board didn't decide officially. So just wanted to mention that. You had mentioned it, President Thorpe. The other thing is I want to reiterate what Trustee Petlicoff said, just so people don't think, we have had no discussions on cuts if this were to happen. Hopefully it won't, it'll pass. But there's been no decision on any specific area. These are just examples of what it would cost. And some of us that were, in buildings, and I know we have two of our former trustees here in 2009, you might remember the mid-year cuts. That was about 22 million. I'm estimating, or some of you remember that were on the board. And I remember as a principal, it was mid-year cuts, mid-year surplus, mid-year layoffs. So we're, at 41 million, obviously we're accounting for inflation and other things, but this is the kind of cuts we're looking at, is what we felt that year, if it were not to pass. So I'm confident, we can get this passed, because ultimately it's support for the students. It's not for infrastructure. This is for operational services for students to make sure that they're succeeding in the classroom.
Trustee McDonald?
I wasn't trying to confuse the issue by looking for
Oh, no, no.
examples, but I just wanted it to be aware that it is operational. These are things
Yeah.
we will fill in the classroom. It's not things that
Yeah,
are,
this is paying the day-to-day bills part of the budget, not
Right.
something
Yes.
special.
And I appreciate you mentioning it, Trustee.
yeah.
Trustee Watts?
So to clarify, I think we're hearing two different dates. To get it on the ballot, it needs to be 45 days before the election. However, before the election, you can start voting up to 90 days before the election?
Nine.
9, okay, I just wanted to make sure, sorry, I thought I heard 90, which I thought was a panic. Okay, so 9, you can vote as early as 9 days prior and 45 days prior to get it on the ballot.
Basically 54 days.
Okay,
And again, this is the third time we're going out for renewal on this since proposal passed in 1992. So it's not something new that we've always done, but we do it every 10 years, and this is the third renewal of that funding.
And this is because of Headley and the Headley over, and Amendment A, what's the amendment?
Proposal.
Proposal A, yeah. That it dramatically reduced what we had per pupil funding prior to that taking effect.
It didn't drastically, it changed the way the funding was
form-
done.
yeah,
Before,
the
most of it was funded locally by districts.
Right.
This changed 80% of the revenue now coming from the state, and the 20%, which we're talking here, is what we have to still levy locally to make sure we're still funded at 100% prior to proposal A.
Right.
We're done.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.